Hello guys, welcome to the third week of Changing the World with Tom French. This week we're going to be discussing chapter 8, which is called Burn Them All. The disciples want to call fire down on the Samaritans. This chapter connects to the passage Luke 9:51 to 56 in the NIV. So again, if you haven't read this, please pause this video, read through that, and then jump back on. So this chapter's a rather funny one, as are all of Tom's chapters. But in this one, the disciples want to blow some stuff up, in particular, the Samaritans. So Tom, could you quickly summarize what's going on here?
Yeah, so Jesus is traveling on his way to Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is where everything's going to go down. He's going to be put on trial, he's going to die, he's going to rise again. So he's on his way to the most important part of his ministry. And as he's on his way, he's going to travel through some Samaritan villages, and so he sends out messengers to prepare the place for him, either just for him to stay somewhere or for actually to do some teaching. But the problem is that Samaritans and the Jews, who Jesus was and his disciples were, they don't get on very well. And so when the Samaritans hear that Jesus is coming, they're like, no, you can't come to our town. And when James and John hear about this, they're like, oh, Jesus, do you want us to call down fire on them? And Jesus is like, no, guys, come on, that's not cool. He rebukes them for wanting to do that. And it seems like for them, like they're like, oh, we're with Jesus. He's a powerful guy. He's got some serious firepower. I reckon if we pray for them to get blown up, God's going to send fire and blow them up. And so it's a pretty crazy thing to read in the Bible.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny one, but there's so much in there. And what would you say? Obviously, the disciples completely kind of misunderstood the mission and the heart of Jesus, to love everyone, and wanting to call down fire and all of that hoo-ha. What do you think we can relate to that feeling?
Yeah, I think there are all sorts of people who we might be afraid of and who might threaten us, and we want bad things to happen to them. Probably we don't want to blow people up, hopefully. But, we can be afraid of people from other races or other cultures, or people who believe different things from us. And that fear can express itself through wanting to actually see harm come to other people. And what we see in Jesus is that what actually he calls us to is not to hurt our enemies or to destroy our enemies, but to love our enemies. For the first thing that Jesus does with the Samaritans, he doesn't blow them up. He just leaves them, and he doesn't go and rebuke them. He doesn't go in and say, you guys are totally wrong. He just leaves them. He just goes, all right, I'll go somewhere else. But then he's on his way to the cross, where he's going to die for the people who are just like him, the Jews, but then he's going to die for the people who aren't like him, like the Samaritans and other, even further on, people who are Australians and all sorts of people. And so because what we see in Jesus, the way that he treats his enemies, that shows us how we should treat the people that threaten us and we're afraid of.
So good. Would you say if there's one practical tip that's helped you, Tom, to love your enemies, and to not want to call down fire on them, what's that been for you?
I think the practical tip comes from Jesus himself, who says to pray for your enemies and to bless those who persecute you. And so I like to, but I try to, when there are people who I feel are threatening to me, that I try to pray for them, and pray specifically, not like, dear God, please blow them up, but dear God, please bring blessing to them. Please help them to know you. Please give me opportunities to love them. And then I try, if I can, to actually do something practical for them, to take a step towards loving them. Whether it's, saying something kind, smiling to them, or giving them something that I have to give them, giving them food or drink or whatever. Whatever I can do for them, if I can see a need that I can meet, as I do that, I'm hopefully doing the work of Jesus, as I saw that he met my greatest need when he gave his life for me when I was his enemy. And so I can meet the small needs of my enemies if I can, and do the work of Jesus there.
Well, that concludes session 3 of Changing the World. So guys, again, we really hope that this encouraged you and you understand a bit more about this passage and a bit more about Jesus' heart for loving his enemies. How you can love your enemies and practically pray for them, and hopefully see a great change in your heart to the way that you see those people who you might feel intimidated by. We'll send you to some discussion questions so you can chat through this as well. Guys, we'll see you next week.